The loss basically happens because there are expenses to be borne, there is a significant cost that the distribution channel has to be paid, such as commissions. That makes up a significant part of the cost. Reserves have to be set up. So if a company is getting 100 rupee of premium in the first year, it might end up spending 130, 135 rupees to get that 100 rupee of business. Now, in a normal company, probably it might not make sense, but in a life company, what we say is that this initial loss that a company is bearing is actually going to be borne out of future profits that the company will get from that line of business. So what you see here is that in the first year there is a significant loss, but then in the later years, as the policyholder continues to pay his premium, there is a stream of profits which emerges in the future years, and then that stream of profit is actually used to cover that initial loss. Now, this is, let's say, a typical example of a life insurance company where a company starts its operations, and because of the new business strain, what would effectively happen is that in the initial couple of years, there will be losses. The shareholders will not be able to see any profits emerging from their business, and it's only around the 6th, 7th, 8th, maybe the 10th year that the economies of scale have reached to an extent that some profit will emerge. The company will still be writing new business, there will still be a new business strain, but then the previous business would have entered in its 5th, 6th, 7th year, and that's where the profitability would start to come in. So this is, in a way, true of any life company which starts its business, that in the initial years it will see a loss, but a break even will probably be reached, and then after that, if the strategy of the company is right, what it would see is exponential profits. And what you're really seeing is that by the 12th, 13th, 14th year, the profits are quite significant. So that's where the shareholders get rewarded eventually after being patient for 7, 8 or 10 years. What I'll do, I'll just quickly talk about some sources of profit for a life insurance company. Now, like any business, when the company makes a profit, the management breaks down that profit into the sources of the profit. How did, let's say, a profit at the end of the year emerge? What were the sources? From which area of the company the profit actually came? So I've just identified 4 of these areas. One is the investment income. That if the company has invested some money and it has excess income, so that obviously the company might be having some investment management charges on its investment funds. So those are the components which could contribute to the profit from the investment side. Then there is the expense, because when a life company prices a product and sells a product, there is an inherent assumption about the level of expense the company will incur. And if the actual expenses are less than the assumption, then obviously that excess margin available to the company, that would end up showing in the profitability of the company. A very important part is the underwriting side of it, because in the end, as an insurance company, we are taking on risk, and for that risk, there are certain assumptions that we've made in our pricing. Probably for example, for a life company, one assumption is that what are the number of deaths that might happen in a particular year, or what is the amount the company would end up paying in case of death claims. So if that assumption has been put into the pricing, and the actual mortality experience is better than expected, so that's where a company would make a surplus, and that would end up showing in its profitability. Persistency is a factor which is very important for a life insurance company, and that actually means that how long does a customer stay with the company, because these are medium to long term products. Let's say a product could have a minimum savings term of 10 years and going all the way up to 30, 40 years. So because of that initial loss, the interest of the company is to keep that customer with it for a longer time period, because when the customer pays a premium for, say, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, so from the future premiums, the profit is going to be emerging, which is going to cover that initial loss. So if the customer does not stay with the company for a longer time period, then we have a potential problem, because the future profitability is not really coming from that particular product, and then the company will have serious problems in terms of meeting its initial loss. So the persistency is a significant factor which companies focus on, and they try to keep the lapse rates of policies as low as possible.
possible.
Okay, I'll just move on to the second part, basically, of the presentation, which I'll just talk about a few challenges which a life company faces, not only in Pakistan, but this is true, I would say, for probably all the markets in the world. And this is not an exhaustive list. There could be many other challenges, but I've just picked a few of them. So people, that's one challenge. Products, growth or lack of growth, expenses, cost, distribution channels, the economic environment, and the regulatory challenges as well. And I'll just quickly go through these 6, 7 in the next few minutes. Okay, I think people obviously is one of the most important factors. And this is not really exclusive to only life insurance. This probably holds true for any type of business. But obviously life insurance has its own peculiarities where people play even a bigger role. And it's people who take decisions and people who actually implement them. And if the decisions are wrong or the decisions are right but the implementation doesn't happen, so that's where it can make or break a life insurance company. So basically the management strategy is what really matters. And I would say a CEO of a life insurance company has to be someone who has a very high level of patience, because obviously the business is a business which takes a bit of time to actually grow. Patience to actually meet those challenges, and also have a good understanding of business. The management team generally has two tiers: the upper management team and the middle management team. Now, the upper management team can have two levels within it. One is the specialized insurance role of individuals, which could let's say mean underwriters, insurance underwriters, because that is a specialized area. And if there is a country where there are not many experienced underwriters, then obviously there will be problems for new entrants, let's say, or even for the existing companies to operate. Actuaries are risk specialists, which again are in short supply in many markets. So that's one area where a company can have a challenge. Then even the sales head, if it has a sales head which has insurance experience, so obviously that individual has high value for the company. But then you can have some general positions as well, like IT, maybe marketing, even the accounting side of it. An accountant doesn't really have to have insurance experience. He can come in and put in his principles in the life insurance company. Life companies have medical doctors also. So again, a medical doctor out of practice can actually come into a life company and then be trained on the insurance aspects. So basically these two areas are areas where a company can face challenges, probably because of a dearth of individuals with relevant experience, or maybe a country may not have the relevant quality of individuals who can actually work in life companies. Then it's the middle management also, which is the main machinery which runs the company on a day-to-day basis. And then having and managing and having the growth of the middle management to a level that level can be a self-sustaining level, that also is a challenge. Now, growth, a question can obviously arise that how much growth is good? I just discussed that there is the phenomenon of new business strain. So effectively, if a company is growing at a very fast pace, so it would end up having a very high strain in all the years. So how do you create a compromise between X% of growth versus how much strain does a company want or is able to have? And also in terms of growth, is the top line growth important? Is your revenue or sales more important, or is your bottom line growth important? You can have a company which may not have a very big top line, but if it's managed properly, the bottom line might be better than many other large companies which have a much higher top line. So that again is a challenge for the company to manage, and that's where again business planning comes in, having projections of business in terms of various growths